Sanju Verma, to begin with you, the fact is your own spokesperson this evening came out and called the BBC Bakwas Bhrasht Corporation, an organization that deals in agenda propaganda. Now, that could very well be the view of the BJP, and one respects that. But having said that, even our Editors Guild, which is my ilk, even the Press Club of India, has come out and strongly condemned this action. My question to you is, I'll give you the chronology and and I want you to just explain it to us, that why shouldn't this question be brought up? The Dainik Bhaskar reports on the alleged mismanagement during COVID of the government, and there are IT raids. The Wire publishes a story which is unflattering to the BJP. There are IT raids. The BBC puts out a documentary on the Prime Minister, which might be, the Prime Minister was exonerated by the Supreme Court, which might even be factually incorrect, whatever the BJP might say. But having said that, there are IT raids today at the BBC office. So you would understand that many, and forget about the politics of it all, from my ilk will stand up and say, is this vendetta?
Preeti, I can barely hear you. Am I audible?
Madam, very audible. Go ahead.
Okay. Preeti, you raised some very pertinent points, and it's not my space to beat around the bush. First and foremost, let's just be very clear that, the free speech angle, we'll come to that later. But more importantly, why is it that this survey of BBC offices in Mumbai and Delhi were conducted? I have to tell you that the violations were with respect to transfer pricing norms. There is section 92A and section 92F of the Income Tax Act of 1961 and section 10EA of the Income Tax Rules of 1962, which clearly say that if there is a subsidiary which is operating in India, then it will be monitored and supervised and has to comply with section 9 of the OECD guidelines, which are international guidelines. Now, the Income Tax Department found that there was a violation by the BBC offices in Mumbai and Delhi, basically BBC India, with respect to transfer pricing norms. It did not maintain an arm's length. This is what the Income Tax Department has categorically said. And what does it mean when we say that the BBC in India did not maintain an arm's length? It does not mean an arm's length literally or metaphorically speaking. What it means as per section 9 of the OECD guidelines is that any subsidiary, it has to look at cost minimization and profit maximization without under-invoicing or over-invoicing to evade tax. I repeat, section 9 of the OECD guidelines, which govern more than 150 countries, because most large corporations, not only within the media space but elsewhere, have subsidiaries operating in different parts of the globe. I mean, BBC operates in more than 200 countries, has a customer base of 450 million, so it has umpteen subsidiaries across the globe. Now this, I will finish in 10 seconds. The limited point is this. I simply want to ask the BBC through your show, Preeti, did BBC violate the transfer pricing norms under section 92A and 92F of the Income Tax Act of 1961? Did BBC violate the transfer pricing norms under section 10EA of the Income Tax Rules of 1962? And most importantly, did BBC violate the section 9 guidelines of OECD, which say that you should not under-invoice or over-invoice with a mala fide intent to evade taxes?
Sanju Verma, your questions are duly accepted and taken, but again I'll come back to the timing of it all. I corroborated the timing of Dainik Bhaskar. 1 month after the reports on COVID, IT comes knocking. Same with Wire. Now, many would suggest exactly the same with the BBC. You have questions that you have raised that the BBC needs to answer. Having said that, A, the timing, B, usually what has been the take of the government when agencies act and when they're accused of vendetta, which is the BJP or the government says, we have nothing to do with it. These are independent actions by the agencies. What was a tad bit strange is how your own spokesperson came out and called the BBC a Bhrasht Bakwas Corporation and said that there was an agenda behind its reports. Same thing which was said by the Home Minister this morning. So lots of questions come into play. Because whether you like, ma'am, I'll come back to you. Let me open the debate, right? And I'll bring in Rajdeep Sardesai. Rajdeep, many from our own ilk, the Editors Guild of India, has reacted strongly. So has the Press Club of India. Now, the timing of it all is suspect. And the reason why I say that is I've given two examples earlier as well.
Absolutely. And the timing is everything in politics. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. This non-compliance of transfer pricing is not something that was invented 1 week ago. This has been in the pipeline, I am told, even before the NDA came to power. These, income tax from time to time has raised this over the last decade. But you make these highly publicized raids, call them surveys, in Mumbai and Delhi within weeks of the documentary airing. And are we living in kindergarten? Does really Sanju Verma believe that all of us live in kindergarten, that we have to believe that there is no connection? That Dainik Bhaskar is raided within weeks of exposing the mismanagement during COVID too, and we have to expect that suddenly Dainik Bhaskar has been flouting the law? I mean, let's not kid ourselves. And when you call the BBC a brushed bakwas corporation, I mean, what's the message you are sending out to the world? Sanju Verma may think it's brushed and bakwas, so may Gaurav Bhatia, but large parts of the world don't, including Prime Minister Modi. In 2013,
no, let me come in.
I'm coming to you, ma'am. I'm coming to you.
Very clearly, he said, why is it that Indians follow the BBC? Because it is seen as credible. And you are now, we are the G20 president, we are the G20 presidency. We are projecting ourselves to the world as the mother of all democracies. How is it going to square up with raiding the BBC in the manner that it is? Somewhere the optics are terrible. Maybe the government believes it is so powerful.
Right.
Mr. Modi is such a popular leader, they don't have to worry about it. But I think they should be concerned. The last thing you want to do is send out a message to the world that we are an intolerant democracy that will simply criticism. You can do that in Turkey with Erdogan. You should be doing it in India with Narendra Modi. That's my view, and I think the Editors Guild is right in raising the question. This constant intimidation of any form of any body, any media body that questions you is terrible optics. Not just optics, it's bad, and it should stop.